All right, Shalom. It's your brother Quashab coming back out to another lesson. Now, before I get started, I want to give all praises, glory, and honors unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Rachak Wadash, and double honors once again to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth and rule well. And peace, blessings, and salutations be to the hopefully elect, as well as those that believe in the gospel and may you endure to the end, Lord willing. All right. Now, I just want to get into a quick lesson today, just predicated around the point of, seeking out those that are like unto thee. All right. And which, when you read the second Esdras, the book of second Esdras, all right, the 8th chapter, right, when you drop down to around, about the 50th verse as we're going to read, it tells you about the glory, all right, that's written, all right, are those that are destined for salvation, all right, the glory that they're going to receive, man, all right. But those men, okay, are going to do what? Seek out those that are like unto thee, all right, those who whose mind is according to their mind, right? So, that's pretty much what this lesson is about, just a quick exhortation, right? Because, we'll get, through the spirit, whatever the Lord want to come out, all right? Now, let's go to the book of second Esdras, it's chapter 8 and verse 51. I'll just get the point. In 51, it says, "But understand thou for thyself, and seek out the glory for such as be like to thee." Okay? But understand thou for thyself, and seek out the glory for such as be like thee, man. All right? Seeking out the glory that be like thee. Okay? So, give 1 second. Right, so about that. So second Esdras 8 and 51, it says, "But understand thou for thyself, and seek out the glory for such as be like thee." Right. So when you read it in the GNT, okay, it says, "But Ezra, you should be thinking about the glory that is waiting for you and those like you." All right. And that's what it's talking about when it says the glory that for those that be like unto thee, man. All right. Those same men that are striving, okay, fighting, pushing, all for the name, all for the love of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, ultimately to obtain what? That incorruptible crown, man. All right. So you shouldn't be, out here, trying to make friends in the world, man, And, when I was putting this, these couple precepts together with this lesson, I was just, meditating and thinking about, Jake have forsaken everything, right? To follow the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, right? With that happening, Jake is in the truth, pushing, and then all of a sudden wants to start doing things that they forsook, all right? And that goes to show you that, sometimes, you got to understand that your mind, you got to catch your mindset or your mind being bugged out, man. You have to catch that, right? You should need brothers to catch that for you, But I'm saying all that to say, when brothers catch it, that's why what? Because they're, watching for the saving of your soul, all right? But it's also about, having those men around you because they know you, Their mind is according to what? Your mind, man. All right? Now, I'm going to go to the book of Sirach. All right, I think it was 37. Yep. Now, that's the book of Sirach, okay? Let me see. I wish I had my apocrypha, because it goes into it, all right, about friends and companions and different things, right? Now, it says, "Every friend said, I am his friend also, but there is a friend which is only a friend in name, Is it not a grief unto death when a companion and friend is turned to an enemy? You see, I'm going to just, try to jump across it a little bit. It says there is a companion which rejoiceth in the prosperity of a friend, but in the time of trouble will be against him. You see? So it's basically summing up to you, the different type of friends in the world that you have, okay? And this is what Jake do in the world, It says there's a companion which helpeth his friend for the belly and taketh up the buckler against his enemy. Forget that. Excuse me, Salakia. It says, forget not thy friend in thy mind, and be not unmindful of him in thy riches. All right, so I'm going to jump down to 12. I was just reading, trying to see if I missed anything. All right, so this is the point in 12, all right? It says, but be thou continually with a godly man, with whom thou knowest to keep commandments of the Lord, whose mind is according to thy mind, and will sorrow with thee if thou shalt miscarry. All right, let's see what that say in the GNT, okay? Because you have to be continually with a godly man, all right? A man of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, okay? And it says he will sorrow with thee if thee miscarry, people in the world not doing that, brothers give you counsel, different things. You might look at it as, something that's, I'm always in a council, this, that, and the third. Well, if you always in a council, right, then that means you've been detrimental to yourself, right? And as I said earlier, I might have to get it, in, I think it's in Hebrews, that, not Hebrews, I'm going to get it, all right, that, these men are watching for the saving of your soul, okay? Now it says, verse 12, it says, instead, rely on someone who is religious and known to keep the Lord's commands, someone who is sympathetic with you and who will be sorry to see you fail, you see? And, damn right, brothers, some men that come and go, right? Some men you tarry with, some men you labor with, brothers have their different stories and accounts. All right. It is sad to see them fail. It is sad to see them, be bugged out. All right. And all we can do is just pray and hope that, that the Lord, don't give you over, back into the world. Right. It says, verse 13, and trust in your own judgment and no one's advice is more reliable. All right. Sometimes your own intuition can tell you more than 7 watchmen on a high tower. And above all, pray to the Most High that he will show you the right thing to do in wisdom and confidence. All right. Which is, your fate, man. All right. But I want to get something. Oh, where it says that you watch for your soul. Fucking allergies, man. All right, it is in Hebrews. It's Hebrews 13 and 17. It says, obey them that have rule over you and submit yourselves, for they watch for your souls, as they must give account, that they may do it with joy and not with grief, for that is unprofitable for you. You see? So these different men, all right, that are set up through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, all right, have the task of doing what? Watching for our souls, man. All right, why? Because they must give an account, you see? That's why, brothers have reports, man. Oh, what's that brother like? What's that brother like? What's that brother like? Okay? But all of this a part of doing what? Having them, going back to the Sirach 37, all right, seeking out those, okay, whose mind is according to thy mind, being continually with a godly man, all right, a man of the Lord, you see? And that's why you gotta, because, here in this brotherhood, all right, it's all about, keeping the law with your brother, right? It's not about liking a brother, okay? Having, what's the word? Respect the persons, all right? Oh, that brother cool, I like that brother. Nothing wrong with that, right? But when it comes to counsel when it comes to different things, when it gets to the point of, oh, your salvation is on the line. No, the only thing that matters, liking a brother goes out the window. All right. That's when it goes to keeping the law, but keeping the law with your brother. Okay. And what I mean by that is, the laws Yahweh gave us, Matthew 7. Okay. Different things like that. If you know, you know. If you don't, I'm not getting into all that in this lesson. All right. But when you have those men whose mind is according to your mind, they will tarry with thee, if thou shalt miscarry, right? Let me see. I just read that in Sirach. Miscarry. Probably spelled it wrong. Let me see something. Let me go back to it. Because I know it's one in Timothy I want to get. Yep, that's it. I mean, I spelled it right. But I'll read it again. It says, Sirach 37:12, it says, but be continually with the godly man whom thou knowest to keep the commandments of the Lord, whose mind is according to thy mind, and will sorrow with thee if thou shalt miscarry. All right. If you go off, if you're making errors, okay. Niggas in the world not telling you, hey man, you tripping, you making bad decisions, niggas not doing that. All right. But the men that's pushing with you, they are. Okay. Let me see something. Admonish him. Yep. 2 Thessalonians chapter 3. I'll start at verse 11. All right. It says, for we hear that there are some which walk among you disorderly, working not at all, but are busybodies. All right. Now, I'm not saying, all brothers, doing that. Right. I'm not saying that any brother doing that. Really. Right. But, these words were, written in the scriptures for a reason, because these things, will happen. Right. It says, verse 11, for we hear that there are some which walk among you disorderly, working not at all, but are being busybodies, right? Being in other people's business, all right? Meddling in different many matters, right? It says, now them that are such we command and exhort you by our Lord Yahushua Mashiach, that with quietness they work and eat their own bread. But ye brethren, be not weary in well doing. And if any man obey not our word by this epistle, note that man and have no company with him, that he may be ashamed. And that's why you see brothers, get suspended. Brothers get, put on these probationary periods, right? Because if you in the council, different things happening, all right, and then the judgment comes that, all right, we're gonna note this brother, and we ain't gonna have no company with him. Right, basically a suspension, that he may be ashamed. Right, so you read in NLT, it says, take note of those who refuse to obey what we say in this letter and stay away from them, so they will be ashamed. Right, and that's the whole point, for them to get their damn mind right. All right, not to go on a vacation. Oh, I don't got to go to camp. I don't got to get on the classes. Jake some Jakes take the shit to be a vacation, man. And if you're doing that, your mind is totally gone. You're totally going back in the world, man. Your mind is no longer according to our minds in the fight and the push to the kingdom of heaven. Okay? The fight of endurance. Okay? You're just done. Verse 15, it says, yet count him not as an enemy, but as admonish him as a brother. Okay. NLT, don't think of them as enemies, but warn them as you would do a brother or a sister. Okay. So, that brother, he not he wouldn't be an enemy. Okay. But what? You've admonished him as a brother or sister, in the hopes, in the prayers, we praying for brothers that they get their damn mind right, because Because who wants to see a brother fall?
Strong's G
Right?
3560.
It's the word admonish.
Nutheteo.
All right.
Nutheteo. Strong's G 3560. Nutheteo. Nutheteo.
Right. It says to warn, exhort. Right. In the Strong's definition, it says to put in mind. All right. So you got to put that brother in mind, you know, to caution or reprove gently. Right. And sometimes reproof isn't calmly. All right. It says, admonish, warn, you know, and that's what, you know, these, you know, when these different situations happen, that's just, it's a warning, you know, and it's on that man if he, you know, if he take heed or if he don't, right? But the warning has went out, you know, and that's for a brother, right? That's why it tells you to Ezekiel, the 3rd chapter, that it's a demon. You know, in Ezekiel, the 3rd chapter, that, you know, when you get the blood off your hands, you know, you have warned, right? You have done your job. You've warned of the pending danger, the destruction that's going to come, you know. You've done your job. But if you don't warn them, then what? The blood is still on your hands, man, you know. But let me finish this out. I got a couple precepts. Phew. Okay, allergies, man. Yep. This is Sirach 27:12. It says, if thou be among the indiscreet, observe the time, but be continually among men of understanding. You see? It's because when you among other men that understand the times that we in, right? You know, brothers that's in like mind, okay, they're gonna, you know, be in the same mindset as you. Oh, hey, bro, we gotta get out of here, you know. Hey, bro, we gotta, you know, move around. They got stuff going on here, right? Why? Because these men are trying to make sure that you make it onto the chariots, man. You know? Don't want you to err, okay? And I'm going to end it off in Psalms 119. All right. You know, this lesson went it veered off the path a little bit, all right? But, you know, like I said, through the Spirit, the Lord allowed things to come out. It was in Psalms 119:63. All right. It says, I am a companion of all them that fear thee and of them that keep thy precepts. All right. Companions of who are the ones that's fearing the Lord? Who are the ones that's keeping the precepts, keeping the commandments to the best of their abilities? All right. The true men of the Lord. All right. The hopeful elect who ought to be the elect. You see? A companion of, you know, of companions of the friends of Yahushua. All right. So by default, that'll make you a what? A friend of Yahushua. You see? As it tells you in John the 15th chapter, you know? But that's pretty much the point, man. You know, I'm not gonna hop in on it too long. Like I said, a lesson veered off a little bit. But hey, you know, it all came out through the Spirit and power, y'all, by Shemal Shai. So Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. And with that, let me give all praises, glory, and honors unto Yahweh.